ready to go deep on game design. I'm excited for this one.
Always up for a good deep dive.
Awesome. So today we're going to tackle what makes a game truly captivating.
Sounds good to me.
Right. We're going past just the surface stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like the graphics and mechanics.
Yeah.
We're diving into the deeper stuff, like meaning and motivation.
Love it.
Our guide for this journey is this super insightful article by Reactorcore.
Oh, yeah. Reactorcore knows their stuff.
Big time. Yeah, they break down how meaning and motivation are approached in games in like two major ways. We got those carefully crafted campaigns, and then we have the totally different world of like procedurally generated experiences.
Right, right.
So those two approaches are like night and day in a lot of ways, but both tap into what we want as players.
Yeah, it's fascinating how that works. Like, we don't always even realize it consciously, you know?
Totally. I think that's what's so cool about this article. Reactorcore starts off by asking this simple question. What drives us to play in the first place?
The million-dollar question.
Right. And it's got to be more than just like surface level fun.
Oh, for sure. Definitely something deeper going on there.
Way deeper. So what do you think? What's a deeper thing?
Well, the article argues that it all comes down to this,
Yep.
like an inherent desire for something valuable
Okay.
in return for our time and energy. It's like we're looking for a gift from the game,
A gift. I like that.
you know, and that gift can be a lot of different things.
Like what? What kind of gifts are we looking for?
Well, it could be that thrill of mastering some crazy skill or, you know, connecting with a powerful story emotionally,
Right.
or even just the satisfaction of making something unique in the game's world, like building something cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that.
It almost maps onto those like core psychological needs, you
Yeah.
know, like the need for growth and connection and self-expression.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. And different games are going to cater to those needs in different ways, obviously.
For sure.
So, for example, let's take those handcrafted campaigns,
Yeah.
you know, the big narrative-driven ones.
Huge stories.
Exactly like The Last of Us.
Oh, man. Such a good game.
Or Red Dead Redemption. Those offer a very specific type of gift.
Yeah. Those games feel like they're meticulously crafted journeys.
Right,
It's like you're experiencing this world, this story that developers have like painstakingly designed with every little detail thought out to evoke like certain emotions and ideas.
It's a powerful way to deliver a focused message.
Yeah.
Or create a really immersive experience. You think of it kind of like a film director, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Guiding you through the story, controlling the pacing, the mood,
Yeah.
and ultimately like the feeling you walk away with.
I never thought of it that way, but that's so true.
Yeah, it is.
But here's the thing. The article points out that some games might not be like fun in the traditional sense.
Okay.
But they can still be super valuable experiences.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that game, Papers, Please. Have you played that?
I have. It's heavy.
So heavy. It tackles all these complex social issues, and it makes you think in a way a lot of games don't.
You're right. Those games, maybe they don't give you that, like, escapist fun,
Right.
but they offer a different kind of gift. It's like insight, you know, empathy, a way to grapple with, like, real-world problems, but in this safe space.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And that can be super valuable to some players.
Huge. So even if a game isn't like a ton of laughs,
Right.
it can still be really meaningful for the player.
Yeah.
And that makes me think about games that are less about a predefined story and more about giving players the tools to create their own experiences.
Yeah.
Like in those procedurally generated worlds.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole other ball game.
Right. Huge difference.
Totally different approach. Reactorcore calls this multiplicative content.
Okay, multiplicative content.
Yeah, it's not about giving you a specific story. It's more about giving you a set of rules and systems
Okay.
that can combine in tons of ways, leading to these unpredictable outcomes and emergent gameplay. That's the key.
So the gift in these games is like the potential for endless possibilities.
Exactly. The freedom to forge your own path and just see what happens.
And that makes every playthrough so unique.
Yeah, and it's about empowering players to actually be part of creating the meaning,
I see.
rather than just passively receiving a story that's already set.
So it's more interactive.
Way more. You think about something like Minecraft,
Oh, yeah.
this massive open world where you can literally build anything you can dream up.
Right.
Or think about exploring a procedurally generated galaxy in No Man's Sky. You're always running into new planets and aliens.
It's crazy, all the possibilities.
And it never ends.
It seems like in those kinds of games, the best moments are the ones that feel super unique and personal.
Absolutely.
Like you discover something or you create something that no one else has ever seen before.
That's the magic of it.
But does that lack of a clear narrative make it harder for some players to, like, find the gift you were talking about?
That's a great question.
Or is it more about what kind of player you are?
It's a really interesting question, and it gets to the heart of why both approaches are valuable. But before we go down that road, I think it would be good to unpack this idea of multiplicative content a bit more.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm curious to hear more about how it all works.
Okay.
And what it means for the future of game design.
That's the big question, right?
Yeah, this is getting really interesting.
It is.
So where do we go from here?
Well, let's start with that multiplicative content.
Sounds good to me.
It's a pretty key concept.
Yeah, let's break it down.
Okay, so we're going to dive into this whole multiplicative content thing.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I think it's really fascinating how Reactorcore explains it.
Yeah, and before we jump back into that handcrafted versus procedural debate, I think it helps to understand, like, how this multiplicative content actually works.
For sure.
Especially compared to the traditional way of doing things.
Well, Reactorcore uses this really cool analogy to show the difference.
Love a good analogy.
Imagine you got a puzzle.
Okay, a puzzle.
Now, adding new content the traditional way is kind of like just adding one piece to that puzzle.
Okay.
You know, like a new character.
Okay.
A quest, an item.
Yeah.
It makes the picture bigger, sure.
Right.
But the overall framework stays the same.
Okay.
They call that additive content.
Additive. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like adding on a DLC to a game.
Exactly.
It's new stuff, but it's still, like, within those same boundaries.
Right. Same world, same story.
Totally.
But multiplicative content is totally different.
Okay. How so?
It's not about adding a single piece.
Okay.
It's like creating a whole new puzzle.
Whoa.
With its own unique pieces and possibilities.
I see.
It changes the whole game fundamentally.
Mm.
It creates this framework for, like, countless combinations.
Yeah.
And all those emergent gameplay moments we talked about.
Right, right. So it's less about adding specific content and more about creating systems that, like, interact in unexpected ways.
You got it.
Okay, so instead of carefully placing each piece, the devs are like, building the box, the puzzle pieces go in.
That's a great way to put it.
And then the players
Yeah.
get to make their own picture with the pieces.
And you never know what picture they're going to make.
Right, and that leads to those unique experiences for each player.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Think about a game like RimWorld.
Oh, yeah, RimWorld.
You got all these complex systems that govern character interactions and resource management.
Yeah.
And environmental factors. All this stuff is constantly, like, influencing each other.
Right.
And it leads to these crazy, unpredictable stories that just, like, emerge out of nowhere.
And it makes me think about, like, how long those games stay interesting. You know, additive content, even if it's really good, can feel like a one-time thing.
You play through it once and you're done.
Yeah, exactly. You explore the new area, you finish the quest line, that's it.
Yep.
But with multiplicative content, it feels like the possibilities are never ending.
Right, and that's the magic of it.
Yeah.
It keeps players coming back for more because there's always something new to discover, some new challenge to overcome, a new story to tell.
And from, like, a development standpoint, it seems like it could be way more efficient.
Potentially much more.
Instead of always, like, churning out new content,
Right.
you're just building these really robust systems that can just generate tons of unique experiences on their own.
It's like setting up a machine that makes its own content.
It makes you wonder if that's the future of game design. This shift towards, like, procedurally generated worlds powered by multiplicative content.
It's definitely a possibility.
But wouldn't we risk losing some of that narrative depth, emotional impact that we get from those handcrafted campaigns?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can procedurally generated experiences ever really replicate that same emotional resonance you get from a well-crafted story? Or are we talking about two totally different kinds of gaming experiences, each with its own good and bad points?
That gets us back to that idea of the gift that a game gives you.
It does.
Maybe it's not about one approach being better.
Right.
It's about understanding what each approach brings to the table.
Exactly.
And figuring out what kind of gift really speaks to you as a player.
And that's what I found so interesting about Reactorcore's article.
Okay, what is that?
It's not just about understanding these different approaches to game design. It's about using that knowledge to be more mindful about what games we choose to play.
So how do we actually apply that to our own like gaming habits?
It starts with being more aware of the underlying systems and the design philosophies that shape our favorite games.
So like thinking about the games that have really captivated us.
The ones you keep coming back to, yeah.
And asking ourselves, what is it about them that keeps me hooked?
Exactly. What's the draw?
Yeah, is it the challenge of mastering a complex skill set?
Hmm.
The satisfaction of building something totally unique?
Right.
Or is it that emotional roller coaster of a really good story?
It could be any of those things.
It's like once you understand the language of game design,
Yeah.
you can start to see those gifts more clearly
Yeah.
and make better choices about what experiences you want to have.
Exactly. You can be more intentional about it.
And maybe even more importantly, you can start to appreciate those experiences on a much deeper level.
For sure.
Recognizing like the artistry and the intention behind the design.
You start to see the bigger picture.
So it's not just about mindless entertainment.
Right.
It's about engaging with interactive art in a meaningful way.
And that's what we want to challenge you with today.
Yeah.
To look at your own gaming experiences through this lens.
All right, welcome back. We've been on quite a journey.
Yeah, exploring what makes a game truly engaging.
And we've talked about everything from handcrafted narratives to the wild possibilities of those procedurally generated worlds.
Lots of possibilities, for sure.
And we challenged you to think about your own gaming preferences through like this new lens.
Right.
Thinking about the kinds of gifts that different games offer and how those gifts line up with what you want as a player.
What are you looking for in a game? That's the question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now we want to take it a step further.
Okay. How so?
Think about those games that have really stuck with you.
Yeah.
The ones you still think about even after you've finished playing them.
You know what I mean? Like the ones that really left a mark.
Totally.
Yeah.
What was it about those experiences that was so special? What resonating with you on like that deeper level?
Was it the challenge?
Yeah.
The feeling of accomplishment? Maybe the freedom to create, or that emotional punch from a well-told story?
Could be any of those things. Or maybe all of them.
Yeah, or maybe something else entirely.
Hard to say.
Right, and that's what's so cool about games.
Yeah.
There's this huge, diverse world of experiences out there.
So many different types of games to play.
And as technology gets better and developers get more creative, I think we're going to see even more innovative approaches to game design.
That's exciting.
For sure. Like, those indie developers are always pushing the boundaries.
Always coming up with new stuff.
Yeah, they're the ones experimenting with new mechanics and new ways to tell stories.
Do you think they're going to lead the charge in terms of finding new ways to engage players?
They definitely have a huge role to play.
Yeah.
But I think even the big studios are starting to embrace these new approaches too.
Right.
You see more and more elements of procedural generation and emergent gameplay, even in those big budget titles.
It feels like we're at a really interesting point in the evolution of gaming.
Definitely a turning point.
We're seeing all these different design philosophies come together and influence each other, leading to some really unique and compelling experiences.
And as players, we have so many options.
More than ever before.
But to really appreciate how rich and deep this art form is, we have to go beyond just the surface level, engage with those deeper layers of meaning and motivation.
That's what this whole deep dive has been about.
Trying to understand what's going on beneath the surface.
Absolutely. It's about being a more conscious gamer.
Yeah.
Understanding how games are designed.
Right.
And using that knowledge to find those experiences that truly connect with us.
On a personal level?
So the next time you grab your controller or sit down at your computer, take a minute to think about what you're really looking for in that experience.
What you want to get out of it.
Yeah, what kind of gift are you hoping for? And how can understanding game design help you find those games that really enrich your life?
That's something to think about.
Yeah, some food for thought as we wrap up this deep dive.
I hope you enjoyed exploring meaning and motivation in video games.
Yeah, this was a fun one.
And until next time, happy gaming. See you later.